Tim Burchett says it's time now for full UFO disclosure, and where he said it is even more interesting. Welcome back to Down to Earth with me, Kristian Harloff. Thank you for being on the show here today with me. It is Monday. I appreciate it. We've got a lot of things going on this week, and one of those things is one of Burchett's colleagues, Luna, has been talking. We've covered it here, I think, twice over the last couple of days, that this big announcement that she's got coming out. Apparently that's going to be tomorrow, so we'll be covering that. And the question that everybody started to ask when she said that this was something big that was coming and a big announcement that was going to change at least the nation, you know, obviously every single time that comes up, anybody in this community, you start to say, well, is that disclosure? Is that a part of disclosure? To where the guy was, she was being interviewed at one point, and we talked about this on Friday, I think. And he said, is it aliens? She said, it's bigger than aliens, whatever that means. But this conversation that Burchett has, I've talked about it at great depth when it comes to mass media and majority. I just had this conversation yesterday with a friend, and we were talking about this subject. And he's like, how come the mainstream media doesn't really cover this stuff when you have all these different things? I said, dude, I say that on my show almost twice a day, and if not more. And I always, you know, it's usually News Nation, or you see news popping up on Twitter, or there might be some articles, whatever, but you never really see the mainstream media or the big shows covering it. Well, you got to give credit where credit is due. Burchett was on CNN talking about this stuff. So here's an excerpt of that interview, and then we'll talk about what he says afterwards. Here it is.
Extraterrestrial life on planet Earth. One of the things you said in an interview, you talked about a conversation you had with a U.S. Admiral. They tell me something's moving at hundreds of miles an hour underwater, as large as a football field underwater. This was a documented case, and I have an Admiral telling me this stuff. What do you believe exists on Earth in terms of extraterrestrial life, and what have you seen proof of?
Well, there's some things I've seen proof of that I can't discuss, and I've urged the White House to disclose these things. You know, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars researching something, and then you have one group telling us they don't exist, and I have the best pilots in the world telling me, Tim, this thing was 14 feet from my canopy, and he went and he did this, and I've seen things that I wish the public could see. There's just a lot of unknowns. And again, they tell us they don't exist, but then they issue redacted reports, and they're still studying. Almost every one of our alphabet agencies has that. And we had testimony that said they have a recovery unit. Now, what are they recovering? I'd like to know. It's our tax dollars. We have a right to know. And when government thinks that we can't handle what's going on out there, that's when government's gotten a little too big, and we need to cut their wings off. And right now they're spending, our Pentagon has got all this dark money. You have the alphabet agency studying these things. One group will tell you they exist, the other one doesn't. I just think it's time that we have total disclosure. And you all in the press ought to be for transparency and disclosure. I don't see a problem with that.
Look, good on him, man. Look, I've said beforehand, I think sometimes Burchett will make it a partisan issue. When he started this, it was very bipartisan. This is about as bipartisan as you can get. You got him on this particular show and him talking about straight up, the press should want this stuff. You should want to know what the hell's going on out there. And he's 100% right. Good on him. And he's saying all these things. And this is one of those, it's as I'm having this conversation yesterday with my friend and telling him these things that if someone who's watching this channel every day knows about, and the things that you've been that I cover, that you've been watching. But my friend was like, hey, you know what I just watched? I watched this documentary the other day. It was really, really solid. It was The Program. And I was like, yeah, that's a good one to get into this whole thing and really understand, because the thing that blew his mind about it was the amount of people that were in it from military and government and other things. And then I told him about the Age of Disclosure Act, that is the Age of Disclosure documentary that's coming out. I told him about some other things that are coming out, and I said, just people, it just needs to be covered. He goes, like, if it was covered more in the news, I would be paying attention to stuff all the time. I was like, it's my point. So this conversation that he has here about we need full-on disclosure from it. now he's been saying it, Burchett, before Trump was elected back into office. He was saying, well, if Trump gets in, he's gonna be the disclosure president. You better start knocking on that door, Tim. You just keep knocking on that door. It's it is time for something to happen here. Maybe that's exactly what's going down with this Luna thing. Maybe they're going to be putting some information out there that leads to this. Look, the other side of it is that they're covering this and they have him on to discuss it. They don't kind of go, tell me this alien stuff you believe. It's more about, hey, you said you talked to a rear admiral. You said you did this. You said it. Now, the only thing that's unfortunate about that, right, is like, hey, you said you talked about this rear admiral. There's no world that I should know that he's talking about Tim Gallaudet more so than this guy. This guy should know exactly who. He's like, the rear admiral who spoke at the hearing that did this. These anchors, in general, from every network are not informed on this topic. They just aren't. Something pops on his desk and goes, oh, this is the guy that's involved with the UFO and the alien stuff. And let me read through this. Oh, he said he talked to a rear admiral. All right, let me ask him about the rear admiral. And again, kudos in the fact that they did ask him about it and then they talked about it. That's great. But there is something of going, well, wait a minute. Just be informed on it and say, wait a minute. You could find so much information. You could talk to him about this for a lot longer. And I hope that that's what starts to happen, especially if you're going to see that. If more conversation starts to come out about this stuff and you have longer press conferences and things of that nature, you're going to start seeing the anchors talking to more of these people about this, and they're hopefully going to be more informed. At least one would hope. But what do you think about this? Do you think that this is just, once again, the same old thing that's been saying, we need disclosure, we need the government to be disclosing this stuff, we need them to be transparent? Is that just, they're just saying it again, or is they actually saying it this time because people are actually listening? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. Comment. Do all of that. We are approaching 50,000 subscribers on this channel, so thank you for being a part of it. Make sure that you comment, like. If you want to become a member, you can do that today. Again, thanks for being here. I'm going to do as many videos this week as I possibly can, so be on the lookout. Get those notifications. All right, guys. Thank you, and I appreciate it. We'll see you later.